Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show for Collective, the community-created card game where you make the cards. I am Stranger Side, your host and community ambassador for Collective. I'm joined today by my faithful co-host, Grief.
Howdy, folks.
And my mysterious, elusive third co-host, WujekMarian.
Greetings.
Anyway,
listen, if you're gonna be doing this for like 4 months straight, then like you gotta get consistent with it.
Anyways, so yeah, Empty Folder could not be joining us today. He's off. I think he's doing something fun, so we wish him the best. We're gonna jump straight into it with our accepted submissions. These are cards that got in last week. Starting with the big boy, a 4-drop neutral 3/5 punk from Black Rift. This costs 1 if at least 2 allied units with base cost of 1 enter play this turn. And when you play a unit whose base cost is 1, create a copy of it. So, for those of you who don't know, Black Rift is a realm about non-native matters first. And so the priority mechanics were always supposed to be non-native matters and scouting. Secondary mechanics were supposed to be things like token copies. However, as a result of a lot of the things Spike has done in this thing, we kind of picked up this like new sort of weird third archetype, which has to do with base cost 1. And Spike's been developing it. I'm confident he's going to get a lot of these designs in. And so I guess it's just getting incorporated into the realm. And I really, really like this particular design because it uses copies to get more non-native fodder. And I really do like a couple things with this card, notably how it could chain into more big boys. So if you drop a 1-cost unit, it'll give you another 1-cost unit, which will chain into another big boy. And you could use this to get just this big fleet of 1-cost units. And also it reduces its own cost to 1. Oh, it only cares about base cost. So you can't chain those together, but you can do some interesting chains once you get 1 cost out while this is already out. So overall, I think this is really fun. And I'd be interested to see how this changes improv to win. It's giving it a very aggro build. So I think what was originally, I think it's pushing more and more into Ashgurdy territory-wise. But of course, a lot of these cards are neutral, so we'll see. Grief, what do you think of this?
Oh, this big boy will be the perfect supplement to all your little misters. So whoever got that quote or reference, yes, you're getting old. The thing is, yes, you can put it into Ashgurdy as an aggro shell, considering that, okay, let's churn out a lot of 1-costers. You can also do that in KM, which in the first 3 turns is probably also very cool. But just think of the combo potential when you're looping in Legacy with stuff like, oh yeah, King loops with the Neon engines, or even more quirky with any kind of resource reduction or cost reduction on 1-cost self-bouncers like Clomaturge and shit like that. On Clomaturge and stuff like that. So yes, now you're playing Clomaturge, which puts a Clomaturge copy into your hand, which costs 1. Now you can bounce stuff that's always that is cost 1 or less. You bounce Clomaturge or bounce the King, which then allows you to, when you play a King, put a copy of a King in, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. That definitely, this basically serves to be a new like piece of redundancy in the King combo, and that's really, really neat.
Oh, well, no, sorry, King combo wouldn't probably work because it counts only base cost 1. But Clomaturge and cost reductions and stuff like that will work.
It still kind of works.
Yeah, because you just use Clomaturge and its natural base cost of 1. Even if you can reduce it lower,
yeah,
it's still got a base cost.
Okay, yes, yeah, sure.
It is your King.
Yeah.
Clomaturge is King now. You don't need both of them.
The consistency, mate.
Yeah. Wujek, what do you think of this?
As a person who's been screwing around with low curve aggro decks for a while now, this card just makes me very happy. My curve is already like 3/4 of the deck costing 0 or 1. So slotting this in, just no combo, just casually dropping this big boy as a 1-mana 3/3 that gets some value. It's just nice.
Yeah.
Sure, there's the combo, but he's just a good boy. He's just a good big boy. I like big boy.
As far as giving more redundancy and like potential to weird stuff in the non-native deck, it would be cool if someone cooked up a 1-drop monkey to allow this play good in the Hylians. Because then you could probably get a lot of cool stuff off with the Agitator.
How much does Pip and Bob cost?
I think it's 2.
I think it's 2 as well, sadly.
Okay. The
Unfortunately.
party animal is a 3-drop strength 3/3 hyena from Anahem, folks. With before
Don't point that
combat,
out.
gives unit agile, it can't block this turn. So yeah, this is really, really weird. I know, well, I'm very, very glad to see the realm in. My collaborations with Frey Whisker and indirectly with Go Chris have been really, really cool. I was originally hoping to see Anahem have a lot of tribal-based synergies, and so I thought it was very interesting that Go Chris decided to immediately go out with a gate with a unit who, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 0 other cards with this tribe. So
Yep.
if Go Chris wants to go with my vision, then he's going to end up hopefully creating some more hyenas. Could be nice. But I believe it's basically just Go Chris totally disregarding what I wanted for the realm, which is, he's allowed to do it. I'm an admin of a different realm. I can't veto him. So, Wujek, what do you think of this?
Hear me out. You say that we have no other cards with this tribe. You're technically incorrect, as if you have no other cards that are like more than 3 of a tribe in your deck. You have 4 other cards with this tribe.
Shapeshift.
Shapeshift is a good mechanic. Anyways,
Well, but you can only get in two via Shapeshift. Or no, you get in 3 via Shapeshift.
there are I think 4 different shapeshift cards right now.
No. But if you have more shapeshifters than hyenas, they take the shapeshifters tribe.
How many
Yeah,
of them are wisps
shapeshifters.
or shapeshifters?
You'd have to get ones with absolutely no overlap. So you might be able to get in 9 or something. I'd have to go double check all the
Probably.
tribes on the
But,
things with
but,
shapeshifters.
but you listen, I was making a joke, okay? Let's
Yeah,
not
okay,
overthink it. Anyways,
fair.
This smells like OTK bullshit. I'm not saying that this is like the main thing it's gonna be used for, but this smells like something that could enable OTK bullshit. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's completely fine because it's very interactable.
Yeah. It's not doing anything to like a unit in hand. It's not doing any sort of weaponized thing. Yeah, it's definitely interactable, and I really like that about it. The art is absolutely splendid and gives a vibe I definitely wanted to see in Anahem. So I do think that Frey Whisker and Go Chris are working toward a really cool vision for the realm. I'm sad that sort of the cards I was pitching for it didn't really do all that well, but I believe it's in good hands with these other ones. Grief, what do you think of this?
This card is twofold. It's very much, yeah, let's go hyper aggro. Okay, let's go hyper aggro, because face is the place. The other aspect that we should probably take into account, you are allowed to pick any unit.
Yeah.
So, therefore, you can actually get rid of blockers on your opponent's side, which, yeah, helps again with the OTK bullshit. On the other side, this can also give itself agile. So, yeah, turn 1, attack, turn 2, turn 3, drop this. Now you have 3 units that attack face, and so on and so forth. It's a very versatile card. And we'll probably see play from now on as well in both standard and legacy, depending on the build you're going for. Not a bad card.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do like how this can slot into a lot of existing decks really well, and it's pretty versatile. It is interesting to see if maybe this thing is going to have to suffer through an update. It plays really well, interestingly, with like kobolds, but it's in the wrong color, so maybe I don't know, splashy build. It's very interesting and very versatile in a very tight package. So I really do like a lot about this card. And we'll see where Anahem goes from here. I was just kind of interested in the direction.
Not gonna lie, a part of me is kind of sad about the fact that it gives agile instead of forcing to attack.
Yeah.
Forcing to attack could like get some really fun interactions, like forcing an enemy unit to attack into your Black Widow, even though I know Black Widow is like an old card and fell out of meta, whatever. Point is that like interactions like that could be interesting.
Yeah.
But
The Service Synth is a 2-drop Spirit 2/2 Ox robot from Anahem with Agile and summon, create a copy of the last food you played in hand. We did talk about this some last week, but it was able to successfully get in. So we actually have this realm is off to its own start. These are the Ox, which I'm guessing we could do quite a bit of interesting stuff with food with them. And robot is just sort of a general sort of catch-all the way we've worked it out. Food synergies in this piece are really, really cool. And we've already talked about it a lot, but I think Wujek, you wanted to add some commentary to it?
Yeah. So here's the funky thing. This is a 2-mana card that requires you to basically play it like either on the same turn as your combo turn in food or after your combo turn. Which is very awkward for the way food plays.
Yeah.
Because I know people have been kind of trying to push food into a direction where it has a little bit of that, like, after the initial combo turn, it can still make plays. That's why cards like there's 2-mana 2/1 that costs 1 and draws a unit. Sweet Scone, whatever, was made. I just feel like that's not really a playstyle that food can pull off yet.
Yeah.
So to me, it almost feels like this card in food decks is a bit just clunky and just doesn't do enough.
It's good on the flavor grounds, and I do think that was one thing that luckily Go Chris and I do agree on, is the hyena feels like a hyena and the ox feels like an ox. It's just weird to see what they're going to get built into, and there's a chance that it's not going to be very heavily tribal, but we'll see going forward. And like you said, this one is weird in particular because it has a problem with food. It doesn't fit into, well, it can fit into food's play pattern, but in sort of a weird fashion. Empty, I remember, was talking about where specifically you'd be interested in doing this. And of course, Grief mentioned last week how this works really well with Honeypot, because it can give you a chance to get your combo turn off again or something.
That's
like
true.
that.
Also, the name makes me mold.
Why is that?
It's a furry thing, because Synth and Proton are two separate species, so using the word synth to describe a Proton is very...
It's not either of those things. It just
awkward.
happens to look like one. What are you talking about?
Oh, sure, totally.
It's just a robot.
It's totally just a robot.
It's not
fine.
referring to that synth. It's just
Copyright
referring to
free.
the idea of a synthetic unit. Oh, no. Grief, you've already
Copyright
talked
free
about this one.
Proton,
You wanna
I get
talk-
it.
Oh. Grief, do you want to talk on this one anymore, or do you want to move on?
Basically, as I said, only Honeypot card. Everywhere else, I don't really see a use out of it because it's just an agile unit. By the way, though, on the topic of tribes, why the fuck is this an ox?
To work more with, to provide a springboard for future Animaster stuff, hopefully.
Doesn't look like an ox.
Wait, okay, no, I also, just one thing, right? I'm sorry, but if we're providing more animal tribes for Animaster stuff, why ox? Like, okay, I can kind of get hyena. You can do stuff with hyenas, but why ox?
I would love, okay, by the way, for those of you who don't know, there is a 5-card Aurochs archetype in Magic spanning 10 plus years, I think.
I know what you mean. Similar with horse and shit like that.
That's it. Magic did the Aurochs dirty. We're gonna do an Aurochs in collective now. We can do that.
As I said, I don't have anything against adding whatever tribes, if there are existing things from the real life or any kind of Adam and Apia plastered on it, like the Blam tribe. I don't freaking care about it, but at least look like one.
I mean, I think it kind of gets away with ox somewhat.
Okay.
I
Not
think
well.
it does.
But
for
like,
me, it's more like,
why
this is
ox?
like, for me, it's like this is missing like 2 or 3 more tribes on it, like a wolf.
Yeah,
or
yeah, that's
any
definitely
kind of
true.
Feline or lupine creature, because let's be honest, this is not an ox.
I mean, the only ox thing that it has on it are the horns, but then like it doesn't even have hooves.
That was actually what I noticed this week.
I mean, I know why
It
it's an
has
ox. It's because of like when the initial art was made, it was literally a pun.
Yeah.
Because the original name was Oxygen.
Anyways, let's move on through this one, folks. Let's move on. Okay, these are the active submissions. These are available on the subreddit for you to vote on right now. Grief is gone. The Pernicious.
Fuck.
The Pernicious Deal is a 3-drop strength action from Wonderstar Casino with choose any number of allied units to destroy, draw a card, and this deals 1 damage to you for each unit destroyed.
Hold it up on the screen share, because I'm still seeing Serviceton.
So yeah, this, I really am interested to see how this performs. I think this is sitting at 5, so it's doing really well right now. I believe, obviously, the person most qualified to talk about this particular design is Grief. And so Grief will be particularly excited about potential things to do with this, because I know this plays in well with Glowstone Mine in Legacy. It's kind of weird to think about how to best use this. I know one kind of cute thing, even if it's not necessarily good, if you want a bunch of cards in your hand, like turn 3, you could slap down a friend sheep.
I don't think he hears it.
And then pitch all of your friend sheeps to this, and then
Curious.
get that going.
Stranger?
Yeah?
I'm still seeing the Servicent. What card are you talking about?
Oh.
I too am still seeing the Servicent. What card are you talking about?
Okay, Pernicious Deal. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. Yeah, I accidentally popped it out.
Technical difficulties. It's fine.
Okay, this is the card I was talking about earlier. Grief, what do you think of this?
Pernicious Deal. Choose any number of allied units to destroy, draw a card. Perfect. It's a very good card for self-side decks or even on-tomb combo decks. Outside of that, you will have a hard time utilizing it because you're going -2 for draw 1, while also paying 3 mana and dealing 1 damage to your own face.
Yeah.
It's a very cool card for a setup, but cannot be splashed in anywhere else.
But I mean, this is kind of where we want it in strength, right? You can do some stuff with like Glowstone, Friend Sheep, it plays nicely with. I'm sure there's other combos I'm not thinking of. Wujek, what do you think of this?
When I see this card, I'm basically like, first thing that comes to mind for me is Legacy Self-Sack.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the question there of, is this a card that I can actually fit in that deck, or do I have better options? Honestly, I don't know. Not gonna lie, I don't know. I feel like I would have to playtest it a bit to actually see. Because I think this requires like a very significantly more token heavy build of Self-Sack than like what you usually try to do in Legacy.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that keep this out of, that make this really awkward and standard for me is, and I've wanted this for a while, we don't have a really good swarm hero for strength.
We don't need, I'm not gonna lie, dog, we don't need to. This card is actually like already very strong in standard, because in standard, this is after you play your Gathering Tree on 3, this is probably a 3 mana, gain 3 life, herald 3, draw 6 cards.
Oh, yeah, Gathering Tree is okay. That there's at least
Because
one
Gathering Tree is a fair and balanced card with no flaws whatsoever, guys. Drawing 3 cards for 3 mana is totally fine.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good. At least there's something to go with it. I do wish there was a little bit more, but we'll kind of see. And it would be nice to see some more aggro swarmy type stuff in strength, or just, you know, play with Self-Sack. People like that deck. The Stakeholder At Atorra is a 4-drop neutral 3/5 Harpy Clerk from Tutela with flying, can attack, and when you gain mana, this duels an enemy unit. So things I love about this. First of all, the art is just absolutely astounding. And the I do like the bit of a pun where I don't know if this is a stakeholder in the actual corporate structure of the corporations of Tutela, because it seems like a rank and file worker, but it does actually hold a stake, and that's a business pun, folks. Seeing more cutesy stuff like this in Tutela would make me a lot more excited about the realm. I do like how harpies are like a major part in it. I do think it's interesting that these are the harpies that don't seem to have hands, which makes me wonder how they do clerk work. And of course, clerk, maybe that's something we could develop. I think there are a lot of existing office clerks. So if someone wants to like class tribe initiative, that kind of thing, maybe I'll come around and do it for you. That effect is weird. I don't know what to make of that effect, and I wanted someone to talk about it. Grief, I'll let you start.
Does this trigger on a turn-by-turn basis?
I would think it triggers
Yes,
at start of
would.
turn,
It
right?
absolutely would, yes.
This is powerful and cool and unpredictable, but a very cool build around.
Yeah. The thing, well, I mean, it's only it does have that big toughness or big HP, and so it'll probably survive a couple strikes. You could get quite a bit from refreshing, I think. Oh, this could create some interesting like bug standards, because like the whether, I think, do we have a card that lets you refresh one for each unit you have or something like that? I remember something like that. It might have been a submission.
It was a gain one, but yes, that's Spirit of Plenty's token. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I think that's going to cause some really goofy interactions there, because people might be confused about whether it's gain one for each or for each gain one, and how that could possibly affect it. Wujek, what do you think of this?
First of all, to answer your answer with how does this here harpy do clerk work? You see those feet, right? They work. They're very grapply. Do the job. Yes, it's simple. And second, yeah, this is cute. It's just cute. It's a very cute build. Reminds me of Skeletal Swordsman a lot.
Yeah.
Of course, like not the same. Just that how it's a duelist essentially. You can do several times per turn. May suffer from the fact that it has like no real way of regaining the health by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And like after 5 health, it may have like the same. Well, not as bad as Old Swordsman, because Old Swordsman was a 3/4, which really like gave it the problem of it duels one thing, and then it probably dies from a ping. This isn't as bad because it's a 3/5, obviously. May still suffer a little bit from that, where it like trades into one thing and then dies from removal. But honestly, I think it's fine. It's solid. It's just a good card.
Well, and if you could find a way to like gain 2 mana very quickly, then
Pun. Oh, by the way, also pun in the flavor text. Smiley face.
Yeah.
By the way,
yeah.
cube builders out there, take note of this card. This is a very cool card in draft.
Mm.
So implement those in your cube creation.
Also, actually, new tribe, cleric. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, I talked about
cleric
that.
tribal.
We could probably build that up. We have a lot of actual. We have the assistant from Tutela. We have Wanda Walsh, who is an accountant canonically. That's what she does. So,
Number station.
I'd say that like the harpy tribe feels a bit.
The number station is a radio host.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
so that to be fair, shouldn't this have the bird tribe? Like I know it's harpy, but still.
I don't know. Okay, Sneaky Stickyhands is a 4-drop spirit 2/4 spider thief from Teados. With ambush and start a turn, steal a non-native card in the opponent's hand. Now, the reason I actually wanted to talk about this card is actually I wanted to talk to one particular viewer. Surplus Grain, I so appreciate what you are doing right now, and I'm sorry that people do not appreciate your genius. You have these weird, quirky ideas, and you're in this spot where you're like, they're getting like just vote nerf to oblivion. And I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and I am like that one guy who's like clicking the button to give you the little upvote. This design, however, this one probably deserves to sit at, or I'm not sure if this one should deserve to sit at 0 or not. So this works. This actually is interesting in one respect. It works really well against Promon. And the thing is, I think, first of all, that if what?
Okay, I'm sorry, but you lost me when you said it was specifically good against Permo. We're talking about a card that can steal any hero's level up reward from their hand
Before
as
they
soon
get
as
to
they
use
get it. And you want to steal a shitty doubloon instead?
Well, being able to shut Promo's passive off entirely is pretty powerful.
But you
right?
can do that with a 1-cost card.
Yeah, it's just well, but
the thing is, you can do that with a 1-cost card. This card is busted for a specific other reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's well, yeah. There's more problems with it. Start a turn, I know is too powerful. I wanted to actually workshop this one. So the other designs that Surplus has been posting around, I mostly liked those, and not just because they're obviously pandering to my realms, although that's a plus. This one, which is not pandering to my realm, even though it totally could, I think could actually stand to be workshopped, which is why I wanted to talk about this design in particular. Wujek, what did you think of this one? And what do you think there's a way to fix this?
Right now, this is at the same time the best and worst card I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because at the same time, against a lot of decks, this literally steals a card from the opponent's hand every single turn, which is kind of just that is insane. That's insane. 1 disruption and 2 card advantage generation. It also can literally just steal level up rewards from a lot of heroes' hands. Something like Marie comes to mind because friendly minded Marie, if you steal her level up, you also get it every time you level up because Marie is very silly like that. Of course, there's Ashgurdy, steal her level 5, which is usually what she finishes, what she wants to finish the game with. Of course, you can also just steal Permo's Dragon Breath. But,
yeah.
At the same time, a lot of the times this is a 4-mana 2/4 ambush if you actually don't get those situations.
Yeah, it is, especially because of the variety of the heroes. There are places where this can definitely be.
Yeah, and then
it's matchup dependent, which I think that was the intent. I think the intent was for this to be sort of a tech card to a certain extent, because obviously there are certain decks that run so token light it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm gonna just answer that with one thing. If in collective, if a card only works in very specific matchups, it's not a card that sees play. That's just sorry. Not unless that specific matchup is extremely prevalent, Dark Box during the mill days. This is just weird because again, at the same time, it's a start of turn effect. So often this just dies.
Yeah.
It's 4-mana 2/4.
I think
the margin
that ability...
of what this can do is literally nothing and dies to 2 to 3 mana removal. Or it can probably just get so much advantage that it
wins the
not
game.
quite win the game by itself, but it's just so
it helps you get there.
Yeah, so I would think at the very least, first of all, Thief to Rogue for more potential synergies later down the line. And then I think that needs to be on an active. It being start of the turn is too oppressive. It being able to take hero rewards as soon as they're received straight into your hand.
I see an active. Probably even if it is an active.
Then it could be a 2-cost.
Yeah, and then you could drive the cost down and make it a better unit.
I mean, personally,
which is what it needs to be.
To it to be a summon or something like that. So one-time thing. But if it has to be reusable, then yeah, active is definitely the better way to go.
I can see it. I can see it.
And if you are gonna be downscaling the ability like that, definitely stat adjustments are needed because the reason why this is a 4-mana 2/4 is because it's a value engine. Value engines can have large stats, but as an active, I can see it's being a 3-mana 2/4.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2-mana 1/3. That's a bit scary, but 2-mana 1/3 as a summon. 2-mana 2/3 maybe even as a summon. Point is that if you're changing the ability, of course you need to change the stats.
Grief, what do you think of this?
I basically explained to Surplus why this card is not a counter card for the reasons of being a hate barrel-esque taxing card, but extremely broken value engine because of the reasons already stated. Also for the fact that Steel is freaking stronger discard, especially in collective, where you absolutely remove the card from the position of your possession of your opponent because we don't have owner and controller.
Mm-hmm.
We also don't have honor. But looking at Sneaky Sticky Hands from the perspective of someone who actually is in charge of the legacy ban list, if I ever would run tournaments with this thing in the card pool as is, it would be at 1 on the limited band section right next to frickin' Honeypot, which is mind-boggling, just because you will run this at 3 in your sideboard every single damn time.
Yeah.
That's just how ludicrous this card can be in certain matchups.
So yeah, I think it could be workshopped and could stand to be reposted, but in its current state, it's too degenerate. Even though it's both too degenerate and too high rolling, which is weird. If it's ever good, it's terrifying. Okay, the Chaotic Zapling is a 3-drop mine 1/1 elemental from nowhere in particular with summon counter the next unit your opponent plays. This makes me go, This is cards that make me go, First of all, you got 4 heads. Why not just throw Hydra on there? Second of all, I feel like this is a pretty... I mean, counter always, especially in like Magic, they restrict the amount of uses of counter because it's a deck that quite a few people like quite a bit, and they don't need a lot of tools in their hand at any given time. So they make an effort to only print a couple counter cards at a time. Like I think they limit it to like 2 or 3%. This being able to look forward indefinitely makes me wonder if it can work. What is it sitting at? 2. And I think that might be why people are scared of it. What do you think of this, Grief?
It's basically like most of our counters work, like nearly all of them. Even stuff like, even better counters like the Ninetales. Or what was it? Was it Fox?
Again, all of our counters that like work like that though, or our preemptive counters, are until end of turn.
Yeah.
Exactly, they are until end of turn. That's what I wanted to go to next. They are the same. The problem is the end of turn. And do you know what else is a problem with the not end of turn effect? Retriggering summon abilities or putting it onto trigger abilities from graveyard, similar to Idle Control and the likes.
Yeah.
Where you can plaster these kinds of effects on those cards as an add-on indefinitely. So basically the best thing is to make this a 2-cost until end of turn. Why a 2-cost? Look at Ninetales, it has also Agile for the same cost. And counters anything.
To be fair,
well, of course, Ninetales is a bounce counter.
Yeah.
You can still play
It's
it.
a bounce counter.
Yeah, this is a pure horde counter.
Yeah.
It goes straight to graveyard.
Wujek, what do you think of this?
I mean, when I saw this, I immediately thought, this is aggro contract bullshit if I've ever seen it. Like, this like... Yeah, it's really one of those cards that, like... Yeah, it probably doesn't stick, but if it does stick and you, like, retrigger its effect a bunch, you can counter so many summons that you can basically... Sorry, so many units that you can basically lock units out of the game. Which, to be fair, wouldn't be the first time that happens in 2021 Collective.
It would be a unique way to do it, though.
True. But
honestly, one of the most interesting things I think you could straight do with this is against like the decks that run like the one big unit, like Ush. But I think in the other cases, it's too.
Here's the thing about that, though. Even those decks, like, generally don't run only one unit, or they don't play the big unit.
Yeah.
Let me explain.
The cheating.
Ush Rush, the Ush decks, most of the time, they ran stuff like what's his name, Money Machine, for example.
Yeah.
Just get coins. And then there are like the other big decks, which I mean, what comes to mind is Old World Titan Marie, which yeah, funny thing about that deck doesn't actually play units. Marie just presses her magical button, and on turn 8 you get a board full of 11 mana cards.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it plays the EXP wrap units, but you get the point.
You agree with Grief's proposed fix, or?
Oh, absolutely. I do think that if you want to like make this card better, you just make it 1 cheaper, and 2 make this a end of turn effect. I think even if it's a 2 mana card, I think it can even get like a stat point.
Could work.
I want to say.
I'd like to see
Well,
this
2 mana
be
until end
maybe
of turn, of course. Because
Let's not scare away the potential voters too much, though.
I mean, yeah, but I honestly think that 2 mana 2/1 and until end of turn.
Yeah,
would be
I was
fine.
thinking top heavy too would be nice.
Even though like, of course, it is a very very strong card in like aggro mirrors. Then because like you play this on turn 2 and you basically deny their turn 2 and you get to 1. But Ninetales was fine. This will probably be fine as well. You can just hold a beggar. It's fine.
Okay, the Marching Bomb is a 2-drop strength 0/3 robot from Adiv with active deal 5 damage to a unit. Its controller takes the excess and then destroy this. So yeah, this is a trample bomb of was card magic that did something like that. There was a joke one and a real one. I think this is cute. It's simple enough. I think that burn I think is appropriate because it does have to sit on the battlefield and be potentially removed. And it's just, I think, the right amount of scary. Wujek, what do you think of this card?
Honestly, I don't know. It's bye. Anyways, in the 21 to collective, it's kind of hard to like judge a card like this because at the same time, like on one hand, it is a very big removal, like dealing 5 damage for 2 mana, obviously very good. On the other hand, the 1, it's delayed, and 2, it can be interacted with, which generally you do not want your removal to be interacted with, unless it's reusable like Duelist.
Especially with the 0/3 stat line, like this just dies to Duelist.
Are there ways to like cheat this active out? I don't think there are. Not right now, at least.
Grief, what do you think about this?
This is a bad card in Constructed. Why did I pick it? Because
it's a bomb in limited.
It's a literal rubber rolling bomby boy. It's the thing is, this little Death Star on legs is a perfect card in limited. It's an interactive rubber removal, and it does its job really, really well. It's a body on the board. It does face damage. It gets rid of potential bombs. I want to submit it for approval moving forward, since we now have the cube building scene as well in collective. At least point out a few cards that are very interesting for potential cubes, even as custom cards implemented, even if they don't get into the game. This is a card cube builders should note down because it's a very interesting design space, or even filler if you want to just snatch it off of the submitted cards on the Reddit that don't get in.
Yeah, I think it's really cute and really cool. What is it sitting? It's sitting at 6, so it's doing really well. And I always want Entropic to succeed. So let's here's hoping going forward. The 2 Fanged Snake is a 2-drop strength 2/3 Lizaba warrior from Munguya. With the start of the turn, both players draw a card. When a player draws a card, they take 1 damage. Folks, we have Spiteful Visions submitted for your approval. Or the other one, well, it's a symmetrical version of like a Nekusar. I think this is really cute. This is resembles a deck that I've played around with quite a bit, Commander and MTG, and brings a little bit more hate bear love to the Lizabo. I think the thing I'd be interested to know about this, because this is sort of a hate bear, is what existing stuff this counters really well. So as far as evaluating this card in context, I'm got to defer to my panel experts. As far as playing against this thing goes, I'm so glad that I'm mostly a single player, because I love me my door to elsewhere, and I do not like taking 8 damage from door to elsewhere. And Wujek, you can go first.
I mean, you asked what does it counter, and then you said door to elsewhere, and then like, I mean, you kind of answered yourself, didn't you? Like, there has been that Gold Conductor deck. Like, obviously, this would burn that for 8, but I don't think this is actually a counter card. This is just a very solid value generator that also burns the opponent for a punch.
Yeah,
It's just a
because
good
aggro
card.
deck's
You
gas.
can just drop it on turn 2. If you're playing a lower curve deck, it will draw you some cards so you don't run out of gas as early. You probably burn for like 3 to 4. Obviously, your opponent also draws cards, but you know what they say. They can't play those cards if they're dead.
Yeah.
I mean, and then of course there's you play this with effects that make your opponent wield their hand is an option. Though
Yeah,
I don't think we have that in standard yet.
Yeah,
I'm
we
pretty
have
sure we
like
don't.
Negotiate and Spilled Grail and Legacy, and I'm sure Greece chomping at the bit to talk about that kind of
Winds of Fate. Everyone's favorite.
And yeah, well, counter and a whims.
Oh, actually, this is funny. If the opponent has 13 cards in hand, this is like, actually, how easily can this OTK Whims of Fate? Because we have the 1 mana 1/2 that, like, with pain deal 1. Oh wait, that's one.
Well,
13 cards in hand, 2 of those on board. This you play dirt to elsewhere. That's an OTK. That's 26 damage.
Way, however, this is gonna expend 4 of its Rule 13 triggers on that opening draw, so it's capped at 9. Unless this is worded in such a way where it has 2 separate triggers for each player.
Oh.
Rule of 13.
It probably has 2 separate triggers, 1 for each player, I would assume. Because blocking this to have like just 1 trigger would be a pain in the ass, and I'm pretty sure like Korn would just go the easy way of making it 2 separate triggers. Either way, yeah, like you play this, you play 2 of those Big Boba Amogus, whatever the name is. Wheel your hand, proc the pain 13 times. That's 26 damage to the opponent's face in 1 turn. For 6 mana, well, technically 7 because of affinity penalty. Technically 5 because Kyung-Mi is a hero that exists.
Grief, what do you think of this? I'm sure you're excited to tell us some combo.
I love this card. You can either use it just as an aggro advantage tool, because it's burn damage, free burn damage, and whatever they will throw at you, you probably have a good answer to it, or just go 1-for-1 with them every time. You can even play this at 3 of affinity because it's just that good. Because why not put an advantage tool into Bullock, into Dart, whatever, just to get those card draw in? And who cares if it's in Howling Mine for your opponent? It's also a favored version. What else can we do combo-wise? Technically, yeah, there is the stuff like door to elsewhere, but we also have the things that was played. A Whims of Fate. You can do that with Grail, as you mentioned. You can do that with Negotiate. You can even do that in green with Spirit Draw cards for the opponent while also milling them.
Oh yeah, if you want to do like the tricolor stacks, hate bears, binding magician.
There is stuff you can do with this, and this will be explored way down the line even further. Yeah. The best thing is you drop that down, or a second copy of it, and the honeypot player is basically just counting, okay, how many cards can I play? How many cards can I freaking draw?
Yeah. This is a great honeypot counter. I like that.
Overall,
This isn't a
love this
great
card.
honeypot counter. This is a great honeypot card.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well,
one question, because Griff, maybe you will know the answer to this. Remember the 4-mana Frem from FOMO that like where you draw a card, you instead drop your opponent's deck? Does that actually count
yes.
as a draw a card proc?
Yes and no, because yes, you draw a card from your deck first.
Okay,
Then
then
you
it's
put it
shuffled back on top. Okay, so
and
yes.
that's why
So
you will
draw a
trigger first,
card.
but you will not trigger off of the card you get from your opponent.
Get a card from. I'm trying to think if there's some quirky mill OTK combo that would be possible if Rule of 13 didn't exist, of course, but I don't think there. You would need to have a card that, like, when it deals damage to you or the opponent, because I mean you can use the funny pain card.
Technically, you can build this with Whims of Fate, with Lady Psyche, Psyche.
Yeah, obviously that worked. But I was thinking of some math shenanigans, you know.
And the Blood Priest on board. Technically wheeling and shooting damage, because, oh yeah, I dealt damage to myself, you deal damage to yourself. As well, every time we wheel, I deal double damage to you, and so on and so forth. It's quirky little tier 3 deck.
Also, I mean, in the standard, this gets you closer to 10 health, so you can drop your 0-mana 9/9s. There's that, which is always appreciated.
Go, Timmy, go.
Hey, and you know what they say about 0-mana 9/9s? If you drop 3 of them, you can drop like a 3-mana Cliffside.
I think we should continue.
I agree. The Burst of Inspiration is a 2-drop strength action from Gel with Scour 2, and for each card banished, take 1 damage and draw a card. Shout out for somebody actually deciding to feature my card. It's one I made a while ago and gave away, but still, Stranger got featured, folks. Yeah, I made this as an interesting little thing for Gemmel. I was interested in seeing, caring about how scoury your Scour was. I thought that was cool, and I thought it would be cool to give some strength, some appropriate draw effects that felt very strength. And this is what I came up with. I think now that pain cards are starting to show up in full force, this could maybe be looked on more favorably. What do we think? Grief, I'll start with you.
A good way to get rid of charts. Also, just scour shit away, draw cards, and get damage for it. It's basically a easy to recognize black effect from MTG, which all do similar alterations of this kind of effect. To have that in collective, this is damn about time to have that. So it's a good card in Legacy and Standard probably as well.
Yeah, I think it's really cute. Like I wasn't too attached to this, that's why I gave it to Acoustic, but I would still like to see it in because I do think it is a neat effect, and I'd be interested in playing around with it. Wujek, what do you think?
It's cute. I can already see the curve of turn 1 treat Forge Fire into this on 2 to make him a 1-mana 3/3 overrun and draw 2 cards while you're at it. It gets you closer to 10 health, so you can play your 0-mana 9/9s and you what they say, but okay, I'll stop now.
And it's in at 6, so we'll see how it does.
It's a good card for pain. It's a good draw card for red. It's a good scour card for firebrands. It's just a good card. It's just cute. I like it. It's a good boy.
Okay, the Sage of the Spring is a 4-drop spirit 3/6 monkey from nowhere in particular with can attack, ambush, and summon, draw a card. What a strange looking spider. What's with that tribal line? No. No. I do like, okay, things I like about this card. It's an old Gokris 10 art. It's one of the ones that I like. It's been sitting on the art sheet for forever. Of course, the flavor text is a reference to the meme, and the name is a reference to the meme, and I think that's cute. As far as actual usefulness sees, it's a monkey. I don't think it plays in too meaningfully with the only kind of monkey archetype that exists, although it could. And then it could play into Asdrez's monkeys that he's building, but I wouldn't see how. This seems like the meme just had to get a text box attached to it. But maybe I'm missing something. Grief, I'll let you go first.
The problem is meme has to get a text box attached to it, and sadly, the text box is very lackluster as well as the overall unit. We probably need to cut down cut it down to a 3-cost unit and then make it maybe a 3/4 to 4, something like that. And then it's probably playable at that point because it's still a cantripper on a stick. You can still utilize the stats the summon for re-triggering or for idle contract because you want to get rid of that and just to dig deeper. But if you're running another contract, why not just run better summons? Can't attack is a very huge downside on this card, so I don't really know why the body is so taxed overall. In short, this is a limited card, but something on your last pick.
Yeah.
That's just how lackluster it is.
Moving this down the curve and even keeping the text box, I think this could really shine and as being just a good filler, good limited type card. I also could see maybe in the interest, well, it kind of depends on what Asdrez wants to do with monkeys versus what I want to do with monkeys. There's not really a lot of reason to not maybe throw this into neutral and let more decks run this, especially if you want to make like a flexible limited card. But that's just kind of that's more of a difference in opinions rather than a difference in actual like quality there. Wujek, what do you think of this?
If you're gonna go with the meme, then you might as well make it a tank. If you make it a tank, you might as well make it from Chromazone. Only like 2 people who get that joke. Anyways, this looks like a Hearthstone pack filler. Like I'm not saying that as an insult, but this card just gives me the vibes of like new Hearthstone expansion comes out, and this is like one of the commons that they reveal like at the end of the reveal season when they like bulk reveal all the cards that are like left in the set, and then it doesn't see any standard play, but it sees like it's pretty okay in arena. Like this is the vibe this card gives me.
Well, yeah, this is good as a do you think as far as making it acknowledging that it is maybe like a limited filler type thing, and hopefully we're building limited environments, right? Do you think this could sparkle if it was moved down the curve a bit? Because I think me and Grief are in agreement on that.
Probably. I'm thinking 3 mana 2/5.
That's what I would. I like that it's very bottom heavy, and especially with can attack, that makes sense. 3 mana 2/5 sounds like about what I'd put it at.
It's 3 mana 2/5 is a bit scary, but maybe.
But it's just
that is a way.
It's a blocker. It's a wall.
I know, but it's a wall that can't trips. That's a big difference. We have had the 3 mana 2/5 Spiral with Ambush back in the day, though the game has moved past that, I think.
Yeah, well, it's plopping on can attack in the summon, so.
Well, true. I'm sick.
It's a side grade, technically.
If we're comparing those 2 cards, then the can attack doesn't matter that much in my opinion, but whatever, it's fine.
Okay, I want to move on.
At 3 mana, maybe it could be a 7/5 if you play Wake the World. Let's just fucking go Wake the World.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, that's about where my cue to leave. Ding, hearing the bell. House Splitter is a 9-drop Spirit 10/4 Spider Artisan from Teados. With Overrun and Summon, deal half the opponent's HP rounded up to the opponent. And Entomb, create a copy of this in hand. Wow, what a card. Surplus, and I talked to you earlier, and I'm going to address you again. Wow, what a card. Now, I really don't know what to think of this one way or the other. I know it looks scary, but I think a lot of that might just be appearance. Potentially. Maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know how to evaluate this. I need help. Grief, help me.
First of all, you shouldn't probably mention the card that you're ripping off in your flavor text, because this is a rip-off design. Straightforward.
Yeah, I did notice that from the Discord.
I'm just calling this weird brainchild when Ladros would had something with Elise instead of Callister, and it would look like a spider, which makes sense in the universe.
Okay, but
League of Legends fan artist, that's your cue. By the way, Ladros is cool and all. But
what stage of that do you want them to draw? Oh, keep going.
Can I please? Okay. The thing is, me and Wujek talked already about that card before. If we would scale Ladros to an appropriate scale in collective, it would be bonkers. But this is not an appropriate scale Ladros. So, Wujek, take it from here.
Yeah, so this is kind of the thing of if you're copy and pasting a card from one card game to the other, you gotta really adjust to the environment of that other card game. One, the game speed, two, the card pool. And at baseline, this is very slow for collective. Collective is a pretty moderately fast game. It's definitely faster than Runeterra. So having to send that 10 for that halves the opponent's health is very underwhelming. But at the same time, in the card pool, we have so many summon triggering effects that if this would actually be good, it would probably be too good and very obnoxious.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it still does present a problem with some of the summon triggering effects because a hero named Marie exists, right?
True. Though Marie can shit out a board of 3 Kadars on turn 8, so I think having the opponent's health is like the least of our worries.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I basically just have to abstain on a lot of this. I do not advocate the reference in the flavor text. But the design looks curious. I think this one needs to go back to the workshop. I don't really know what else to say about it. Okie dokie then. Summoning is a 2-drop neutral action from nowhere in particular with banish the top 3 units in your deck. Draw your cheapest unit. It costs 2 less. First of all, some things I wanted to say. Space Turtle, one of my favorite artists in collective. This piece is gorgeous. It's simple, but it's very evocative. I love, for those of you who don't know, purple is my favorite color. And I just love how purpley this piece is. And I absolutely adore this. Art-wise. Other stuff-wise, I think this is really interesting and really quirky. I don't know how you would run this effectively, but the fact that it has that banish provision tells me that anything anyone ever tried to think about this when it got labbed had something very degenerate to say. Wujek, what do you think of this card?
This is cute.
It's very cute. It's gorgeous.
It's just a very cute effect. I'm gonna be honest. This is the type of card that I look at and I'm thinking, the deck that wants this doesn't exist yet. But this is very good in a specific kind of deck. If you have like specifically units that want to be banished, to be fair, we actually do. We do. We have no Phoenix. No Phoenix does put itself into play when banished from deck. Decks like that would love a card like this. And another type of deck that obviously would love a card like this is a deck that's like maybe runs quite a bit of units, but then it just really wants to tutor some of that, like one of that cheaper unit. Iniblet sort of comes to mind, but Iniblet like has too many Arcanists that it like cheap Arcans that wants to run. If maybe Iniblet had like actions, however, that put Arcanists into play for cheap, and then you could put in probably like some more expensive units instead of Nebulous tutor, and that's fun. So yeah, this is just cute. This is so lovely. There's so many cool things you could do with it. None of them right now though, but in the future definitely.
So you think that this is a card waiting for a card pool? And I would almost hope it gets in because it could develop something like that. I think it's really interesting and really quirky.
I may be forgetting about something, but yeah, it's probably a card that's just waiting for something to happen. But it's so cute. I love it.
Grief, what do you think of this?
It's such a good tutor as well. I'm sorry, but like I'm just gonna like pog off at the fact that this is a tutor that tutors for the lowest cost card, lowest cost unit specifically of the deck because this is an effect that I wanted for so long.
I mean, we have a deck that exists with it. It's called Kennel Burn. You banish the top cards of your deck. It's the top 3.
It's
and then
units.
you draw.
It only hits units.
Yeah, you only are hitting units, which allows you to probably hit the banishing units that put more charge into your deck.
Which don't.
No, which allows you to hit with the draw effect.
Wait, I'm confused.
Hit those cards that allow you to. Okay, you banish the top 3 units, which you don't really care about because your curve is already so damn low. Then you don't hit the chars, which you want to probably get on top of your deck anyways to reliably scour them away. Because the problem with scour is that if you want to hit your chars, they're shuffled into the top 5 spots.
Top 10, I think.
Top 10.
Top 10. So sometimes when you want to scour them away, you don't hit those chars. This allows you to actually get rid of some of the shaft in your aggro deck that you don't technically need anyways, get deeper to the chars that you can reliably scour away with your units or other scour effects.
Yeah, I can definitely see your point, but at the same time, there's the problem of in a gamble deck, that what you're drawing is probably very underwhelming because you're probably drawing a chart initiate,
which then costs 0.
I mean, yeah, it costs 0, but it's a 1-drop, which is an idea. It's not maximum efficiency, but
it's not maximum efficiency, but you thin your deck by 4 cards.
Yeah, that's true.
Play the unit for 0 and put more chars into your deck.
Yeah, true.
Okay, we got an exciting one coming up. Oh dear.
Okay.
What have we here? The Forbidden Journey is a 0-drop neutral legend for Morkstall with once you gain 8 points, create Ratzel in hand. When you destroy an ally unit, gain 2 points. The first time a unit leaves your graveyard, gain 2 points. And when an ally rage ability triggers, gain 1 point. What's Ratzel? Why did I read that legendary for Ratzel? Ratzel, the Data Analyzer, is a 0-drop 4/4 robot object with fast, can attack, and summon. Scout a card that Ratzel analyzed to be helpful. It becomes neutral. Well, what can Ratzel possibly analyze to become helpful? These are a bunch of existing cards, I think, for the most part. The Siren Singer, the Wisp token off one of the things, Crimson Caravan in its entirety.
I'm just gonna stop you while you're going through that because I am pretty sure Ratzel can fetch a lot more cards that are on this screen, so you going through that is completely irrelevant. I'm sorry.
Now we're gonna keep going through the samples. War Dragon,
come on,
Defenestrate, Yearly Festival Day, Kadar, Plasma Invocation, Flambeau Spill.
Stranger, please, we want to get over with the show.
Sorry, Wand Combustion, Memory Lapse. See, I'm done. Anyways, what is the name of this thing in the game that has this? Yeah, what's it called?
Yeah. It's called Zephyrus something.
Okay.
People just call him Zephyrus, and this of course is inspired by Zephyrus, which in Hearthstone Zephyrus gives you basically just analyzes the board state and thinks, what card from the core set would be the best in this particular scenario? Mm-hmm. Obviously, like in collective, this works a bit differently, but yeah. Anyways, here are the problems I have with this card. There's really just one actually like major problem I have with it, and is that it feels like you had Zephyrus, right? You made Zephyrus, you blocked it, and you're like, well, I can't just print this as a card, obviously, because it's a wish effect. That's very strong. So I need to give it a condition. So you have the idea, make it a quest reward. cool, sure, that works. So what do you make it a quest reward for? And then you can't decide, so you just make it all free.
Yeah.
Like I find the point system on this card very silly.
Yeah,
I
well,
honestly feel like
and
it's
it doesn't
just
have
pick
innate,
one.
which is sort of an issue.
Wait, it doesn't?
And I'm not seeing it.
I thought that's so awkward.
So the chance of you ever getting this off just seemed like abysmal.
I mean, I guess that's like pretty faithful to the source material, since in Hearthstone, Zephyrus is a Highlander card, so you have to be running only one copy of each card. Hee-hoo. But that is so awkward. Especially
Yeah.
since we don't have lowest cost action shooters. At least I don't remember us having any.
I don't know. I think a lot of the collective community doesn't like effects that can be totally explicit about what they do, or else we would have a card like Tattletale in the game. And I think
okay, I'm gonna actually disagree with that.
do we have a couple? Do we have some that do
So-
this kind of Hearthstone-y wording?
We don't really.
I
Kind
know
of,
we
I
at
think.
least
I think
have
Troy
the
Roll had something like that. I don't remember.
we at
But,
least have Cursed Princess, and we have to a lesser extent Flips, although Flips is just a weird way of saying a normal thing. And Cursed Princess, there's no other way to word that effect.
But here's the thing. From what I've seen from the discussions on the Discord, what people don't like are texts like "Help Mankrik find his wife. She was last seen somewhere in your deck."
Okay.
Because that's a card text where you have no idea what the card does when you read it. You need to actually see it happen, and then you know,
Yeah.
oh, okay, it shuffles a token into my deck, and when I draw it, I make a 3/7 that attacks my opponent instantly.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Ratzel, it's not like that. You see what it says? Scout a card that Ratzel analyzes to be helpful. Okay, so I assume that when I play it, Ratzel will analyze what he sees on the board. It will decide what's most helpful and give it to me. But yeah, man, Zephyrus is one of my favorite Hearthstone cards of all time, for the record, because just on a technical level, it's very interesting. It's very cool to have, like, it's one of those things that is only possible in a digital card game. It's very cool to have a card that literally analyzes the board state and thinks which of the cards that I have, like I can give you, will be the most helpful. And I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to implement it into collective, but I don't think that's it. It just doesn't feel like it. I feel like there's so many problems with this.
I wouldn't, even if we could get a version of it that like really worked, I don't know if I'd necessarily want it. And I like Scout. It's just this kind of effect is just weird. And I don't come from a Hearthstone background, so I know that a lot of that's just bias from my background.
I'm gonna like say like also one more thing. This feels extremely weird as a quest reward.
Mm-hmm.
Quest rewards in like, because when I think of quests, I think of Hearthstone quests mainly because Hearthstone did a lot of quest lines and quests, and it pretty much every quest in that game has a reward that ultimately wins you the game. At some point in the late game, it basically just makes you win. There are a few kind of exceptions, but that's generally the gist of it. Ratzel, especially if you're building around this quest, it just doesn't feel like it would do enough, funnily enough, even though you are getting the perfect card. A perfect card is still just a card.
Yeah. Grief, what do you think of this?
I honestly don't really have an opinion on this card, to be honest. I never played with Zephyrus. I don't really care too much about Hearthstone. And to be honest, this sounds like on a technical level, a very interesting card, but that's about it. I don't even have space for it in Legacy. That's just how weird it is. And that's basically all I have on it.
I agree with it. It's very interesting technically, but it's just not the kind of thing I like to do, and so it's hard for me to actually care too much about it. And then I do believe I disagree with Wujek on this. I do believe there's some people who are against text that cannot possibly be totally explicit, because this is not totally explicit. It doesn't explain how it does what it does. And so you're just praying that Mystic did it right? And then you can have disagreements in bug fixes about, oh, this is a better way to do this, right? I don't know. That's my thoughts on it, but I understand that some people disagree. On to our last card. And it resembles us talking about this card because it is also a Doomseer. Oh, it's a Doomseer. Anahem, the Doomseer, is a 4-drop 3/3 Spectre Cultist from Walnock. With summon, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. When you discard a Spectre, create a Freed Soul. The Freed Soul is a 1/1 Spectre Flyer. Cute, neat. I don't know why the token has an affinity, but that's whatever. This seems like just a pretty good, straightforward effect for Walnock. Do the usual draw, discard, dance, and care about the Spectre deck from Elem, Halem. Help me out here, guys.
Kaufhand.
Kaufhand, Anahem. Cool. Neat. Tell me about it. Wujek, you start.
It's a good card. It's a 4-mana 5/5 that ramages and makes you more value as you go. No, really, there's not much else to it. This is just like a very good card for Spectres. And Spectres have, this in my opinion, been lacking in the area of like actually developing a board. This would definitely help that by, again, for one being a 4-mana 5/5 as soon as it enters play, and then just going on from there. And it's always nice to also see more payoffs for you discarding cards, you know? Ones that aren't just discard targets.
Yeah.
It's just good boy. I like him.
He's neat, simple, clean design. I really enjoy it. I'd be interested in even playing around with it and seeing like what kind of things he could do. Grief, what do you think of this design?
Perfect limited card. Probably pretty decent as a value engine in standard. It's sometimes overcurve when you if you don't have spirits. It's pretty undercurve considering that you don't have any specters to discard. And if you at least just get 1 flyer out of it, it's pretty fine. In Legacy, on the other hand, this card shines a lot because the board-based Spectre deck is actually a thing there. With the next Legacy season, yeah, it's coming soon, TM. There will be a rework to the banded restricted list and how the discard shell would look like moving forward. But with the current shell, with the cards that are available to you in Legacy, you can discard shit tons of Spectres, build the board, and draw like 15 cards. It's an over-acceleration, but you get a picture. So I would love this in the game, just for the Spectre deck in Legacy alone. For Standard and probably in cube building, this is a fine card.
Potentially speaking, in Legacy, this could be like a best, just by itself, when you play it, 4 mana for 11/11 worth of stats. And that is specifically in the scenario where you discard 2 Phantoms of the Opera, that discard another Phantom of the Opera, and you end off the chain with 2 Ravaging Spirits. That's a lot of stats. It's pretty solid.
And that's cool.
That's 14/14. Sorry.
That sort of shenanigans sounds fun and interesting to me. I mean, it's obviously the high roll scenario, so yeah. I think that's about it for this one. This was an interesting week. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Wujek, for filling in for Empty and being on the show. It's always great to have you.
No problem.
And thank you, Grief, for showing up on time and being here.
I always love to be on the show. Sorry if I wanted to hurry or rush in the end, because we're slowly approaching the last few minutes that we usually don't want to.
Yeah. Sorry, we kind of ran over time today. It's whatever. You guys keep watching it, so it's your fault. Like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why I'm doing this, and keep on playing, collecting, and keep on voting on cards. Bye.